Hi, I'm Miss Sarah, and this is At Home Makerspace, where every week I show you how to make fun things with supplies you can find at home. Our project this week is inspired once again by our summer reading theme, Imagine Your Story. Now, this theme is all about fantasy and fairy tales and imagination, so I thought it would be fun to do a project inspired by what is perhaps the most famous fairy tale of them all, Cinderella, and in particular the scene in which Cinderella's fairy godmother transforms her rags into a beautiful gown. So the project this week, inspired by Cinderella, is to transform an old item of clothing into something new. Now, there are lots of ways that you can transform clothing. If any of you like to sew, there are tons of sewing projects out there. But what I'm going to show you today is how to tie-dye. Specifically, how to tie-dye with things you can find at home. So let's get started. In today's video, I'm going to show you 2 ways to tie-dye with household materials. First, I'll show you the techniques, and then I'll show you how to use my favorite to tie-dye a t-shirt. Now, a quick note, tie-dyeing can get really messy. So, if you have gloves, I do recommend wearing them. Also, make sure you wear something that you don't mind if it gets a little colorful. Also, you'll probably want to do this project outside, maybe even in the grass. Alright, so let's get started with our first project. I'm going to show you how to tie-dye with Sharpie permanent markers. Here's what your final product might look like. To get started, you'll need something to tie-dye, a cup or bowl, a rubber band, some Sharpie markers, some rubbing alcohol, and a pipette or straw. Start by placing your fabric on top of your cup or your bowl, then use the rubber band to hold it in place. Now, you'll notice that I don't have anything under my project. I would recommend you guys use newspaper or a tarp or do this project outside. Now go ahead and grab your Sharpie marker and start drawing your design. There are lots of different kinds of designs that you can make, and they can all create some really cool effects. So I encourage you to experiment with different designs. I'm going to be using a few different colors to see how they all blend together. Once you have finished your design, we're going to put a few drops of rubbing alcohol in the middle. You'll notice that the rubbing alcohol begins to spread towards the outside of your design and causes the markers to blur in some really fun ways. If you don't happen to have a pipette, you can also use a straw to add drops of rubbing alcohol to your design. Let's see what happens when we add rubbing alcohol to a favorite tie-dye design, a spiral. Keep adding as many designs as you like. Set your project somewhere to dry. Mine was dry in a couple of hours. Now we're going to set the colors using a hot iron. If you're not comfortable using an iron, ask a grown-up for some help. I wanted to offer you guys a few extra hints about the Sharpie project. So first, with mine, you can actually still see a lot of the marker lines on my project, so I actually like the back side better. If I were to do this project on a t-shirt, I would actually flip my t-shirt inside out so that the outside would look like this rather than like this. The other thing I wanted to mention is that my tie-dye is very light, very pastel, and I think one reason why is that I used an ultra fine tip permanent marker to make my design. If I had used a standard Sharpie, the colors may have been a bit brighter, it may have been a bit darker. So what I want to do is really encourage you guys to experiment. If you have any scrap fabric lying around, try out some different things. Try different kinds of markers, try different colors, try different patterns, and just have a lot of fun seeing what you can create with Sharpie tie-dye. Next, I'll show you how to tie-dye using acrylic paint. Here's what your project might look like. To get started, you'll need something to tie-dye, some rubber bands, some acrylic paint, some water, and some spray bottles. Start by spraying your piece of fabric with some water. You want it damp, but not wet. Next, we're going to be creating our design. I'm going to be using some rubber bands to create a polka dot design. Start by pinching a small piece of fabric and wrapping the rubber band around it to create a small nub. I'm now going to do the same thing all the way across the fabric. Here's what it looks like when we're all done. Now it's time to mix up our paint. I'm adding a small amount of paint to a spray bottle. Notice that I am wearing gloves this time. Add some water to your spray bottle. Now put on the cap and shake it to stir everything up. Now we're going to use the spray bottle to add paint to our fabric. You'll notice that I've already colored those little nubs red and green, and I'm coloring the rest of the fabric blue. Always tie-dye with your lightest color first, then work your way to your darkest color. Lay your fabric somewhere to dry. Mine was dry in about 2 hours. Now that our project is dry, we're going to rinse out any of the extra paint. Start by rinsing with the rubber bands still in. When the water runs clear, it's time to take the rubber bands off. Rinse the fabric one more time until the water again runs clear. Now set it somewhere to dry. When it's dry, we're going to use our iron once again to set the colors. One last thing that I wanted to tell you guys is that if you have too much paint in your tie-dye project, you may end up with fabric that's a little stiff. So make sure that you add enough water to your paint when you're mixing it up in your spray bottle. And also make sure that you rinse out all of the extra paint when you're rinsing it at the end. This will help make sure your fabric isn't too stiff. As always, if you do have some scrap fabric, I encourage you to experiment. Try mixing different amounts of water with the paint, try letting it sit for different amounts of time, and try out some different designs. Have fun seeing what you can create. So there you have 2 ways to tie-dye with household materials: Sharpie permanent markers and acrylic paint. Now I happen to really love the way this blue turned out with the acrylic paint, so I'm going to go ahead and use paint to tie-dye my t-shirt. However, I am going to be turning these 2 sample pieces into a project. So leave a guess down below what you think I will be making with these, and I will reveal it at the end when I show you my tie-dyed t-shirt. When tie-dyeing a t-shirt, your best option will be something light colored and 100% cotton. Now, your shirt can be plain, like mine, or it can have a picture on it. Both will work for a tie-dye project. To get started, you'll want to get the t-shirt damp. Now, if you have a spray bottle like this, those work really well, but you can also dunk your t-shirt in water and just make sure you wring it out really well to get all that extra water out. You want it to be damp, not wet. Then grab some rubber bands and I'll show you how you can twist your shirt to make some different designs. First, I'll show you how to make a classic swirl. Pinch your shirt where you'd like your swirl to begin and then twist. You'll want to keep twisting until your entire shirt is in that swirl pattern. Tuck in any loose pieces. Now we're going to apply the rubber bands. We're actually going to use 3 rubber bands on our t-shirt. Make sure that the rubber bands stretch all the way across and cross in the middle. If any pieces are hanging out, go ahead and tuck those underneath the rubber band. And there you have it. When you're ready to apply the color, you can place different colors in each of the 6 wedges or alternate between 2 or 3 different colors. Next, here's how you create a bullseye pattern. Start by picking up your shirt where you'd like your bullseye to begin. Add a rubber band a few inches down. Now pick up your shirt some more and add another rubber band a few inches down from your first rubber band. You're going to continue doing this all the way down your shirt. Here's what it should look like when you're done. You can add color to the spaces between the rubber bands. Each space will be one ring of your bullseye. Finally, here's how you create horizontal stripes, or stripes that go from side to side. Start with one of the sleeves and begin to fold back and forth all the way across the t-shirt. Sometimes this is called an accordion fold or a fan fold. Continue until you reach the other sleeve. Now we can add some rubber bands. You're going to want to space them out a few inches apart all the way along the shirt, similar to how we spaced them out for the bullseye pattern. Here's what it should look like when you're done. When you're ready to add color, remember that the spaces between the rubber bands will each be a different stripe. You can also make vertical stripes, which are stripes that go up and down, by accordion or fan folding your shirt from the neck to the bottom rather than from sleeve to sleeve. For my t-shirt though, I decided to do horizontal stripes. Now I'm applying that mix of acrylic paint and water with a spray bottle. Since I want my shirt to be all blue, I'm applying the blue paint to my entire shirt rather than doing different colors for different stripes. When I'm done adding the paint, I will want to lay my shirt out to dry. Make sure to keep the rubber bands on though. I left my shirt to dry overnight. The next day, I rinsed my shirt under cold water until the water ran clear. Then it was time to remove the rubber bands. I found it easier to use scissors. Just be careful not to accidentally cut your shirt. Now I'm going to rinse my shirt one more time until the water runs clear. Lay your shirt out to dry once again. Your shirt will dry faster on a clothesline or a clothes rack like this. Once it's dry, you can set the colors with a hot iron or a dryer. To show you my final projects, let's see if we can channel a little fairy godmother magic. It worked! So as you can see, here is my final tie-dye t-shirt, and I used that scrap fabric to make a couple of scrunchies. Remember, you'll want to hand wash your t-shirt the first few times you wear it until you're sure that no more paint will come out in the wash. As always, the best part of Makerspace is getting to see what projects other makers are creating. So please take a picture or a video of your clothing transformation project and share it with us at the library. You can do so through Facebook at www.facebook.com/FHCPL. At Instagram, our handle is at FHCPL, or you can send it to us in an email. The email address is makerspace@findlaylibrary.org. We're really excited to see the projects that you guys will come up with. Remember, it can be a tie-dye project like I showed you today, or any other kind of clothing transformation that you'd like to share with us. I hope you guys have lots of fun working on that project this week, and I will see you again next week for another at-home Makerspace. Bye!